All right, Jeremy here, Jeeps Unlimited, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. See, I got that number right, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Okay. Had a little bit of a stomach bug last couple days, not very fun, but today was kind of like the last straw. I had to just get out and do something. I mean, I worked the rest of the couple days, but just not at my full capacity. But my guys were stripping this down, and it took a little longer than they should have. It really didn't need to have that much time, especially because it was fairly pulled apart. I mean, it was still on the frame and whatnot. So I apologize for the delay in that. They finally got it completely done last night, and then I washed it today. It's Saturday. I always like to mark these with dates. I don't know the top of that. I know Mother's Day was last Sunday, so it's 2025. Otherwise, it's somewhere around the 15th or 16th. I could have my dates upside down. So anyway, I'm super pumped about this thing, and I'll tell you why. I've been doing this for 21 years. And in that time, CJ tubs are the most elusive. CJ7 tubs are hard to find. They have always been hard to find. CJ5 tubs we get in, and you can see a couple of them that are sitting out here, but they're always in a variety of shape, and I rarely get one that's just like, wow. Now, it is a used tub, so there's going to be some things on it, but overall, this thing is a solid A for a used tub. And I'll tell you a couple things how I grade these. And CJs do take a little bit different of a grade than like a TJ does. We're a lot more picky when it comes to our TJs. That's not to say I'm not picky when it comes to my CJs, but there's always some give and take, it seems like, with a CJ, just because they're so much older and there's just a lot less of them still that exist out there, especially that can be parted. If they come in too complete, which isn't a bad thing, don't get me wrong, or, you know, potentially a fixer, we have in the past couple years been doing that, and that's because for the first time in my lifetime of doing this, it is now the completed product. A complete Jeep is outweighing or is worth more than a Jeep in parts. Used to be you could make some money by parting these things, and you still can, but you got to get them in the shape. Like this one came in, motor was good, tranny was bad. T150, not a great tranny to begin with, but also a very hard tranny to find a replacement for anymore. And the seats had been taken out. It had the brackets still in it. So it was in, you know, I could have said, hey, Jerry, let's go ahead and fix this thing, because it was clean enough. You know, it wouldn't have taken much body work paint to get this thing nice and shiny, but there was a level of uncertainty, you know, with the mechanical parts, because the tranny was bad. I mean, we could run the engine, but we couldn't really drive it. We did compression on it. Luckily, the engine came back stellar. So it's got really, really high compression. And you can probably see, I mean, this thing clearly didn't have a lot of miles on it, and not a lot of use out of it. So I know you didn't come here to hear me blab about, you know, what is the saying? The birds and the bees? No, I know that's not the saying. There's something else. But anyway, I just wanted to in hopefully you can hear it, even though my voice probably sounds a little bit less enthused, just because I don't feel top notch. But I am ecstatic about this tub. It just because it's so freaking hard to find this clean of one. So I think you'll be impressed by it. I will show you everything. My point to this video is for you to feel like you're right here next to me. The wet spots that you see on it are wet spots. They're water. I just washed it. So we're in high mountain desert, and it's super dry out here. Part of the reason we don't get rust, you know, we don't salt our roads out here, but also there's no humidity in our air. And because of that, this thing just finished about 10 minutes ago, and it's already almost completely dry. So, and it's only about 80 degrees today, so not too bad. Actually, it's a beautiful day. We had a couple of chilly days this week, but we're going to warm right back up. It looks like 80s and maybe even 90s again next week. So, all right. So I'll go over it. Like I said, I'll flip it over so I'll let you see the bottom. I will tell you right now that the floor is really what gives this guy an A. Both the base floor that you're going to be seeing most of, and then this other side of the floor, which is the bottom side, which you probably never will see other than when you get it. Once it gets bolted down, but that's just as important, and I'll tell you why. I'll go over that stuff here shortly. I definitely give things that have good floors, but mainly the good subfloor, the bottom parts, higher grades, and not really as worried about the sides of these things. Obviously, this one's in good shape. It's got a couple little bumps on it though, and some work that might have been done. I'll show you all those areas. But again, I'm concerned with the sides, but if I get a good floor in something, that's the first thing that my eyes go to. And especially saying, okay, this looks this good, how's it gonna look on the other side? So, all right, so let's go over to the cowl area. The cowl is absolutely perfect. It is round on the corners like it should be, this area here and that area there, and I'll walk all the way around it here shortly. And the top is flat, and the hinge mounts for your hood are nice and straight. A lot of times, these things get almost like pushed down on these corner sides, and you get a little bit of a bowl on both of them. And I think that's just from the hoods coming up over time. People not grabbing them in the wind or whatnot. And so it weakens that if it's slamming or if they're just slamming their hoods. So this one definitely did not have that, and doesn't look like there's any repair work up there. The bottom of the windshield frame, which would meet this area here, oftentimes is completely gone. And this is absolutely perfect. There's not a spot of rust on this. The hinge areas, okay, and you can see there's little dimples here. A long time ago, I thought these were from, people pulling. Maybe they had to pull that straight. And I don't know why, because I know exactly what those are. Those are the holes that your mirrors, when they're mounted on there, that they make a kind of an impression. And if you get a little dimple on them, like there is on these, all of these, that's from somebody probably taking an impact and ramming those on there and not really needed to. They're disc shaped, they're inverted. They're Torx, essentially, just like most Jeep parts are. So that's all that is. So there's got a couple little dings where those are. Those will get hidden, but just so you know, like I said, I want you to see it as if you're standing here next to me with a fine-tooth comb, because that's how I am, okay? And then coming down through your lower rocker, they have holes at the bottom, okay? Pre-drilled holes. That is probably, well, I know 100% what those were, and I probably have them sitting over there where the parts came off. But those were those chrome strip pieces. And those pieces are very hard to find. I'm assuming those were good because this Jeep was in good shape. But those are like your Laredo, your Renegades, your Golden Eagles, those trim pieces they put on the bottom. Very hard to find those, very difficult. And usually if you find them, they're missing a stud or two because they have studs on them that go through those. So we might have had a good set. I know I had a CJ7 set, and hopefully now we have a CJ5 set, because those are, like I said, exceptionally hard to find. You can make a piece that looks similar to it, and people do that often when they can't find the originals. But these are definitely kind of a different, it's aluminum, and it's just a nice decorative piece that I think will get in good shape. So, okay, and then you have your holes up here, okay? And again, those are factory holes. That was where the roll bar went. And I do have a nice roll bar of this one. And we pull the roll bars. We do, not only do we sell those separately, but we also pull them for another big reason. We want to see how the inside of the tub is, where those mount. Because oftentimes, if it's going to rot out anywhere, that's going to be the area it rots, is where the feet of the roll bar are, okay? And it's essentially just a piece of angle iron. And they have some spacers they use to buckle that thing in. So it's bolted from the side and the bottom of your rear. If your Jeep doesn't have a roll bar, most of them did in this era. I don't know if I've ever seen one without, but they may not have. I mean, the CJ5s were a little different. Okay, and then on that low, let's just go. So that all looks great. The rocker looks good. Might be a couple little dings through there, but I don't see any major damage at all. The side here, this was a CB antenna they had. So if you don't have that on yours, you'll have a hole there. You'll have to fill that, or run a CB, or put something else there if you like. And then the style lights that you see here, again, you're gonna, in 76 to 83 CJ5s, you're gonna have a variety of different setups for those rear lights. If yours doesn't have it there at all, or has it in a different place, you'd have to move it. And that's not gonna be something I would tell you to be real picky on, because those things can be easily adapted, and every one is different, okay? Now, this is a non-tailgate model. Again, a long time ago, 21 years ago, I used to think, oh man, they filled these things in. No, this is, if you're not familiar with Jeeps, they had a tailgate model and a non-tailgate model. Now, it's counterintuitive if you're not familiar with Jeeps, because anybody would probably say, well, this doesn't have a tailgate, so it's not worth as much. Well, that's not the case, actually. At least in the world, if you're restoring something. Now, there's one, I think I only have one in this whole yard, CJ5, that has a tailgate right now. And it's not in great shape. I mean, it's usable, not nearly as nice as this one. But is it usable? Sure. The non-tailgate models, again, just like that trim decorative piece on the bottom, were only on those Renegades. I don't know if Laredo had the non-tailgate. I know the Renegade did. I know the Golden Eagles. So if you happen to have one of those and you have a tailgate, well, it's possibly a couple things. It's either it was ordered that way, and I don't know if that's even possible, or somebody's replaced the tub at one time and wanted the tailgate, or somebody cut the thing. I've seen these things literally be cut to where you can put a tailgate back here. It's literally the same tub in the back. So it is possible to convert this if you happen to need a tailgate or wanted the tailgate. But this tub is so freaking clean. I would hate to see that, but heck, it's your Jeep, your tub. You do what you want to do with it. So, okay, holes for your tail lights. That's what you're seeing back here. Your fuel filler, that's what that guy is. And then this is the only bit of body work on this thing that was done at one time. And I'll show you exactly, we'll get up real close to it just so you see it. I thought back here there was probably a little bit more, and I'm not seeing as much as I thought there was. This is just paint that I got flaked off here. So somebody's resprayed this. Matter of fact, that brown there, this is black. This brown was likely the color. That was a real common color on those trims, like I told you. So they resprayed it and they painted it black, and they didn't prep it. You can tell they didn't prep it at all. This isn't scuffed up at all. So this would have come off anyway. So if you were hoping for a nice black tub that you didn't have to paint, well, that's probably not the case. I mean, you could redo their chromey paint job, but it's just going to do the same thing. So all these holes here for the fender flares, which were factory on this guy, they weren't in fabulous shape, so we had them taken off. And then again, that would be from that side marker light. Okay, and then a little bit of filler here. Not uncommon on a corner. People oftentimes see that. So the nice thing about this is that when I get it up on its side here in a second, we'll be able to see if this is actually was damaged beyond. Do we see a lot of filler? Do we see a wavy on the inside? You know, or is this something that was just kind of bumped into something and they leveled it out? And the other thing I want to talk about real quick is that when I say leveled it out, you'd be surprised. Back in the day, I've had multiple dealers, especially in the Midwest, tell me that when they would get these things in off the truck, they would literally send them into a body shop and they would level them out. And a lot of that was because, you know, back in the day, people would buy this new Jeep and they'd see all the spot welds and a little bit of waviness in the tub, so they didn't like that. They wanted a cleaner look. It's kind of funny now these days because that's especially you don't see it as much on these CJ5s because of the wheel wells are different on them, but on the CJ7s, a lot of my collector builders are asking for those. They don't want something that's been leveled out. So, but I would always say there's always a little level here. So, and then I keep running my hand here because there's a little bit of a dish here. And again, you know, I'll knock off a couple bucks for this kind of stuff, but you're not going to see a huge significant on this kind of work that needs to be done because you're always going to have something. And if you had to choose, you know, work to do and work not to do, this is work to do. This is easy work. It's accessible from both sides. And plenty, it's almost all flat here. It doesn't get into this corner almost at all, if at all. Okay, and then up through here, again, this is all nice and clean. And then I've seen a little bit more. I've seen some here. Okay, and again, it's hard to say. This could have just been when they leveled it, or they may have bumped into something here. There's a little bit around that fender. This would all get hidden, of course, with the flare, but I still show it to you. That's why we pull the flares off. Okay, and you can see a little bit more here. So you can see the filler, it's Bondo. When I say filler, I'm talking Bondo, okay? Back in the back of it feels nice. So again, it might've been just from a little bit unlevel and they leveled it out. It's really, really hard to say. I always try to investigate it best I can, but unfortunately when it comes to filler and CJs, there's not a lot of giveaways for why they did what they did. So this is all nice through here. So it's kind of, it kind of just goes to this bottom lip. You know, they might've ate a tire. That's another thing that's possible. They might have blew a tire and it came around and beat the side up. I've had that happen on a motorhome not too long ago. So it's kind of pushed in right there on the corner. And then your lower rocker's in good shape up to about here. Now, surprisingly, that side wasn't bad. Almost every CJ and even some of the YJs are starting to do this. You get if you look in there, there's bracing, okay? Now, look how clean this is on this side. And then this side, you're starting to see some cancer here. So We're not going to call it oxidation. It's not oxidation. You know, we do get oxidation in our in some of our tubs. This is rot. It's not all the way through to where this is being affected, which is nice. You don't have to mess with this. But somebody is going to have to cut this out and more than likely put a patch here. Unless you go the not recommended route, which would be to use filler there. Again, I wouldn't recommend it. These are so rigid that it won't last a long time. You'll get some years out of it, but okay. You know, what is oxidation? This is oxidation. This is bare metal, still nice and smooth, no surface layers being lost. It's just browning of the metal. And that probably happened just in the last flash rust, or oxidation happens literally, depending on our humidity in the air, can happen in a couple hours. So that floorboard, oops, sorry. That's got to be the nicest floorboard I've ever seen on a CJ anything, CJ5 or 7. It is flat. It's got a couple little dings, but it is not. When these things get overloaded, you know, people throwing logs in them, heavy tools, they get real wavy. And there is absolutely none of that. Until, talk about a big job is trying to flatten out one of those. If it is wavy, you almost have to replace it. That one is absolutely perfect. Okay, that wheel well looks great up there. Again, this one here, these are bracing for your roll bar. They are factory. We usually pull these. Guys just hadn't had a chance yet. If yours are good, great. If you need a roll bar, I do sell those with the roll bar. And that is usually a piece that we sell with roll bars. That's why they get pulled. So I can leave them alone. Again, if you're wanting the roll bar, we'll figure that out. Okay, that floor, look at that floor. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. Floorboards, both driver and passenger, in excellent shape. Let's see, anything else on this guy? This is the shadows are so hard. So you're getting a little bit of oxidation on this, maybe a slight bit of surface here, but solid. This is nothing more than a little wire wheel will take off, and it's just barely the surface there. No big layers of rust coming off there. This is all nice and smooth like it should be, and solid. Okay, not soft. You're not gonna have to do anything here. Now, there's a little crack right there, and if you wonder what that's from, probably something on the engine compartment when they were stabbing an engine, or potentially if they had an engine and a tranny. It's a little too high to probably be a drive shaft, and it's on the wrong side. Sometimes you'll see cracks like that in floorboards, and drive shafts will break and they'll come up, but this is not a driver's side drive shaft. It would be in a passenger. So my guess is that's probably something from the engine side when somebody was doing an engine replacement and just was neglecting, and it, you know, fell off something, who knows, but hard to say. But that wouldn't be pretty easy just to get in here and weld and then grind smooth so you don't even see it. And it's almost, remember, there's a dash normally in here, so almost all this is kind of hidden anyway. But you're not going to want to hide something like that. Just fix it, right? This big a project, just get in there and re-weld it. So, and you know, that's been a thought. We've thought about that for years. If we're going to continue selling tubs because they've been so freaking hard to get, you know, should we go through and fix them, just get them absolutely mint? And there's definitely there's a whole different business there. We've talked about it. It just doesn't make sense for us. It makes sense to price them where we've always priced them. We've never really raised our prices. It probably is going to have to happen in the next, you know, couple of years, but for the last 10 years we've been priced the same on tubs for A, B's, and C's, and I feel like that gives the body shop, and that's another reason. A lot of times these are going to shops, so you know they're obviously taking this portion of the proceeds, the customer's proceeds, out of their budget, and there's not a huge markup on tubs, but there's usually enough little work in them if you don't give them a huge, you know, a lot of work, that they can make their money back on that side of it. And then of course they have the conversion or frame off whatever they're doing. So that's the way I like to do it, and that's the way we're going to stick doing it. It's sometimes if it just absolutely makes no sense to sell something like that, and it's an easy job to do, we'll do it. But again, you know, to mark it up the price that we would do it at that point for something so silly like that, it's just doesn't make sense. I think the customer usually appreciates it that way. So that's the way we run the business anyway. Now, I'm going to pause this. This new iPhone's got a pause video function, which is freaking awesome. And I'm going to show you the bottom here in a second. I just seen Brandon disappear with our 5.9 Limited. We have a 98 we just got in, which is another rare Jeep. Late one, not listed. And I'm wondering if he took it out on the road. I hope to God he didn't, because that thing is not insured, not plated, and he doesn't have a license. So definitely not one I'd want him to get hot run around. So I'm gonna probably go here after I wrap this up and check that out. But all the pleasures of being an owner. Anyway, firewall, excellent shape, like absolutely great. I mean, look at that thing. It is absolutely mint. All the way down. Heater core hoses, vent for your heater box, steering columns. You know, you have everything there. You don't need to add anything. And you know what's nice? I don't think anything's been added to this thing. Almost all CJs have extra holes in them. There might be a couple small holes extra. I don't know. I don't see any. But, you know, there's a potential of that. But, I mean, usually there's some hack job somebody's done on them. So, and then let's see the grand finale for last, right? So, on a CJ7 and a CJ5, or actually a YJ and a TJ, they all have 10 mounting holes on the tub. Okay, and then they have another one at the front, which is your grill support. Okay, that's what attaches your tub to your frame. And on a 5, I believe it's exactly the same. I was thinking there might be 2 less here, but it doesn't look that way. So let's count them off and just look how nice and beautiful these things are. Look at that. Look at that thread. Look at that. 1, 2, absolutely just gorgeous. This has got to be the nicest floor bottom I have ever seen in 21 years. I shit you not. You can go back in and look at some of the ones that I've commented on over there. It's like, wow, this is a great tub. And they are nice tubs, don't get me wrong, but boy, this one is just, and everything you see, there's oxidation here. Again, no big deal there, but no rot, absolutely nothing. No rot, not even surface rust on this thing. It is spectacular. Okay, so 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, and then we got, let's see, 4. And this little indentation here, you see that? You get a little bit on it here. It's not uncommon to see. Good news on this one, pretty easy to pop back out. You can get access from it, both sides. And if I ever get a broken bolt in one of these, this is the one I want to have break. Because it's, again, it's easy to repair. You get into this one here, this is a pain in the ass to get into, and it's completely a boxing area. Again, there's nothing broken in this tub, but just ones that I like to point out. And again, I want you to see it, so just like you're here. So a couple little, now there's a drive shaft mark. You can see that guy right there. That's probably from a drive shaft break-in, and that would be on the right side, about the same place. Again, a couple dings there, nothing to be concerned about. The ribbing is excellent, the tunnel is excellent. Okay, so 3, 4, and then we got 5. Beautiful. These do float around. They're called a captured nut. We call them torque pockets. They're supposed to. That's how you line it. So you're going to get, most of these should do that. I think these do too, or somewhat. Maybe it's just the front too. But anyway, beautiful channel here. And again, that's your 6-1 there. Okay. And then you got 7. Okay. Nice clean threads. 8. Again, nice clean threads. 9. Okay. And 10. And look how immaculate that back. This is a completely, again, boxing area, not a great area if you have to replace this in a tub ever. They not only spot weld them all the way down on this side, but they're also integrated so much into that outer layer that you're gonna have to end up scabbing all that back in. And that is just absolute cherry. Even the skirting, which almost always has been up, this one is almost perfect. Okay, so that's that. Now let's take a quick peek at that damage we've seen on this side. Okay, so there's no, even though we've seen rot on the outside there, we don't have any rot on the lower lip here. And we can get up through here, and it's almost exactly what I thought. So you see how it's bent on this lip here, but there's really no damage into the actual metal up in this area. And it's bent almost all the way around on that lip. But you have really nothing here. This is all nice and flat. Okay, and again, I wasn't there when it happened. But usually when this outer lip gets bent like it is, it's usually a tire blew. And they lost the, what do they call that? The outer layer of the tire. I can't remember. I know it. It's happened to me many times, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, that's that layer. More than likely what did, and they just came up, beat it up. Somebody took it into a body shop, and because it wasn't really that bad, instead of doing much with it, they just, see that? There's filler right there. They just went in there, bent the back what they could, what somebody could see, and then layered it up. That's it. And again, probably not the best way to do that, because look at the damage was nothing. It could have been done, and it gets so rigid, but anyway, it is what it is. Okay, and then we're looking at that corner, right? And absolutely just what I wanted to see here too. Okay, there's the corner, and there's no rot on the inside of this, and really no damage. It pushed in just like that little spot I showed you. This corner is absolutely beautiful. Okay, no rot, all nice and clean. So nothing all the way through. So definitely something external on both of these. Maybe a tire on this one, and then maybe backed into a corner on that one. And again, for a CJ, not at all bad. That corner is just as clean, and there's your hole for that CB. So if you don't want that, that place is going to be a hole you'll patch. And then if you do, or don't mind a CB antenna, then there you go. At least you got the mount for it. Looks like half of your lines here, but not all of it, and that'll have to be replaced. So okay, I'll get some photos of this bottom. We are in Grand Junction, Colorado, which means we are on 5G internet right there. See that tower up there? We don't have high-speed internet here. We have our cell phones. That's all we have. So it takes a while to upload these videos. So I'll let you know, Jesse, and let you know it's on its way. Hopefully you'll be able to watch it and lock it down. I'll hold it for you for the rest of the day. And I only say that because I know the moment this thing hits YouTube, I'll get my inbox full of voicemails from the weekend, and it won't last. So we'll hold on to it because I know you've been patient with us. If you need a little more time than that, just let us know. We can always do a deposit, and then we'll take it from there. For anybody that is looking for a tub, there's not a lot of CJ5 tubs there's nothing else in this yard that's going to be this quality. But I don't want to take away from the fact that, what we may consider a not so nice tub, a Midwest, East Coast guy may go, whoa, that thing is still way better than what I'm working with. So there's still a potential of that on this blue one. That blue one over there's got pretty good filler in it. It's had some body damage, definitely, but it's definitely still a workable tub. And then there's a black one, almost just like this one, in the back. But again, it's probably a B grade at best. And until we get it stripped down, it's hard to say. But so definitely give us a call if you are looking for a 5 tub. If you're looking for a 7 tub, I had 2 of them last week. We have 1 of them now, and that one is listed on the website. You can take a look at it. It's a B grade, which is still pretty damn good for a CJ. That one does have a couple things it needs, so keep that in mind, but definitely take a look. There's a video on that one as well. And then YJ tubs, I have 1 or 2. I have 1 or 2 TJ tubs, and then we have a couple JKs, which we really don't mess with all that much, but we happen to have one of those right now. And then as far as early tubs go for CJ5s, we do have at least 1 and maybe 2 pretty good quality. I would say definitely up there in the upper B+ or lower A- range. That's going to be your 55 to 71 tubs. And again, we don't mess with the repops at all. We've done it in the past. I know there's guys out there that are now doing a little bit more work on them, wink, wink. So they'll buy a repop and then they'll fix the issues with them. And they claim the gauge steel is the exact same. Well, it's all, excuse my French, horse shit. I'm not discrediting what they do, and I think they do a good job for what they do, but those Vietnamese or Brazilian, and every time we call it out for what it is, they come up with a new country making them, which is, they're mostly made in Asian countries. I'm sure there's somebody else making them. India's probably making them, who knows, but there's always something off on them. And we sold them for about 2 years when I first bought Jeeps Unlimited. And I had so many people wanting to return them that it almost sunk our business. And talk about a pain in the ass to return something that big. At least with this one, you see exactly what you get. You know exactly what you're going to have to do to it. And it's original. You don't have to monkey with this crap not aligning up or the Jeep emblem being weird on them or all the other horse shit they do on them. So, I know I'm going to get some slack. We always get calls from the guys that sell those and go, why do you have to beat up on these tubs? The reality is that they do serve a good purpose, because when I don't have these and they do have those, they can get those new. They're new. So they just click and buy. So yeah, it serves a purpose for us because we can continue selling all the other little parts that we sell in CJs. And if they weren't for those guys, to give the guys credit where it's deserved or due, but if they didn't have those guys, then we wouldn't be able to sell the parts because nobody would be able to restore them. So I absolutely applaud what they do. I think they do a good job at it. But I think disguising it, lipstick on a pig, is not proper. And just, hey, look, it's not the same. It's okay. It's when I get done with it, and when the body guy gets done with it, it's going to look as good or better. If you have that attitude, then that's all that should sell that stuff. So now, here in about, I think we're counting down the days now. We're within 2 weeks to a month, okay? Which means that I have about 8 tubs sold. I can only fit 12. And I have only 3 frames. We have plenty of room for frames right now, but we don't have a lot of frames, but we do have some, okay? So keep that in mind if you need a frame. We have plenty of room for frames. We can fit 14 frames. We'll probably be a little light on the frames on this trip, but we'll see. We'll see if we can gather some more of those on it. But we have, again, 4 more spots for tubs. And there'll be a trip between starting in 2 weeks to all the way to the middle of June. And I mean that, meaning that we'll leave as early as 2 weeks and we'll, or as late as middle of June. Well, the second weekend in June. My son's birthday is the 5th. So, and that's why there's a variation there, June 5th. So if I leave in the before, I got to get back before, right? And if I leave after, I just got to make sure I'm back by our family reunion, which is the end of June. So a little bit of a window there. Whether I go out or whether we hire our hotshot crew to do it, I usually, when I get a big enough load, I'll do it myself. But it is absolutely hard to get this yard completely dialed in. And I've been doing it for so long, I still don't have it dialed in. And my wife finally came back to work, so we're going to really try to tackle that. That would be the only caveat. But no matter what, somebody's going to be heading your way on the East Coast all the way up to Maine, okay? So if you're in between Colorado and Maine, there's a good chance we're going to cross your path and we can drop something off of your door. If you're somewhere like Tennessee, let's say Nashville, well, you know that, hey, look, if I drive a couple hours north, I can meet these guys along a route and pick it up from there. Now, we could get all the way down to you. I came to Chattanooga last year, all the way southern Tennessee, but it really is a huge detour and not really worth our time to do that in most cases, unless we get several down there. So it's always a possibility, and we can always kind of play that by ear. But for now, you've spent 31 minutes of your Friday or Saturday or whatever day you watch this on. I really appreciate it, guys. If you need any other Jeep parts, especially if you're sick and tired of rust, call us, okay? Because we really do pride ourselves on not only the quality we sell with mechanical parts, but on the rust-free body parts that we sell. They're not easy to transport. We've been doing it a long time. We know how to do it right, and we'll get it out to you, the best we can. The only thing I'll bring out when I come out, but we do not bring them. We do not ship them, and it's just because they always get damaged, is hoods. So if you need a hood, it is a good time to get it while I come out, because it's the only time you're going to get a hood out of the shard unless you pick it up from the shard. And you're more than welcome to pick it up from the shard. We've had people drive from Saskatchewan, Canada not too long ago, okay? I shit you not. People drive. We have a beautiful area. We're north of the San Juans, which is the Swiss Alps of the Rockies. It's absolutely gorgeous down there. We're 90 minutes from Moab. I mean, we're in a really neat area. So, all right, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Again, remember those dates. And if you miss that load and you happen to watch this 6 months down the road, no big deal. I try to run them every 2 to 3 months as far as my my loads go when I come out. But our hotshot guys run every 3 to 4 weeks to the East Coast for us. So there'll be another chance. You'll always save a little bit on transport if I do it versus the hotshot. The hot shots are probably about double. I just do it as a deal. It helps if I can pay for the fuel and the hotels and the food from every little, we collect a little bit on every order, then we're good. But the hot shot guys, this is what they do for a living, so we give those guys a little bit more, all right? All right, guys, thanks a lot. 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com.